Welcome back to the Move Beyond Accounting podcast. I am your host, Blair Cook. The MBA podcast is focused on financial professionals and executives that really are looking for unique insights into areas of innovation, invention, and seeking out strategic intelligence in all fields that create value for organizations. Today, I'm really excited to have an extra special guest with me today to discuss how entrepreneurs increase the value of their business, the durability, and even the eventual exit strategy for their business. Today, I'm joined by Iain Bundy of the Athena Collective. Iain is a multi-time entrepreneur himself, and having successfully exited his first venture in the past, which he'll share a story about, now lands him in the Athena Collective, which he'll also explore and tell us a little bit more. So that's a nice segue, perhaps, Iain. So why don't you spend a moment just filling in the canvas here of yourself and the Athena Collective and what you're up to these days.
Thanks, Blair. I appreciate that. Thanks for having me on. I hope your listeners get some value from listening to me today. But yeah, no. So myself, I'm the CFO and co-founder of Athena Collective. Started this business with my wife, Sarah Bundy, who's the CEO of Athena Collective, and our business partner, Michaela Stewart, who's the CTO of Athena Collective. And really, this is a passion project that was started really by Sarah and Michaela. And the idea behind Athena Collective is that it's a digital-first platform to help female entrepreneurs scale and grow their businesses. And there's kind of three main aspects with Athena Collective. The first aspect is a digital first platform. So really it is a platform that people come in and actually provide input about their business. And what it does is it provides curated content that helps the people understand where they are in their business today, what tools they need to help them progress with their business, where they're struggling, as well as it also provides a community and network for people to have similar issues or problems with their business. They can actually reach out to community members and ask for their advice on how to actually solve a problem or issue that they're dealing with, right? There's a great community networking aspect there. And then there's also another aspect in regards to there's events and workshops that we put on, that we host, that we have partners that come on, sponsors that come on. Some of our members host to what they're doing, and it helps elevate everybody's business. I really believe that rising tide lifts all boats in that sense, in a collective.
Okay, that's amazing, and the irony of having two men talking about female entrepreneurship is not lost on myself or perhaps our listeners here. So,
Yeah,
uh,
no, it's great. And I mean, I do get a chuckle from it myself, but honestly, I mean, my previous business, which I'll go into a little bit more about later on, is that my wife was the CEO of our previous business, and we started that business in 2009, so 16 years ago, right? And it was a little bit difficult for her to get into certain boardrooms or certain meeting rooms because she was a female CEO. So she struggled through a little bit of it, and she had some little hardships, and as opposed to other potential CEOs. So she wanted to build a community that she could share her expertise on how she did that, as well as a safe space that they could share easily with each other. Because frankly, and I've worked obviously with a lot of female entrepreneurs, the way that they do business is a little bit different than the way that gentlemen do business. And it's small little nuances. So this is kind of really a nice passion project and a little bit of a give back for her.
yeah, and I love it. And I think, as I indicated to you earlier, both of my business partners are women, and we also speak in that women's space because it is a
Right.
unique voice and a unique niche, if you will, because they have unique challenges and unique opportunities and all that stuff. So wonderful to have this conversation. But these are going to be universal truths that can be spoken to all business owners as well.
Yes.
So I think we can all learn. Talk about your first venture. I think it's a very interesting kind of, I know it's not a straight line to the exit. I know you had some bumps along the way, but maybe what was that venture, and tell us about that journey.
Yeah, thanks for asking. That was quite the journey, I can tell you. So I'll take a big step back and give you like the starting point. So in 2009, my wife was 6 months pregnant with our first child, and she decided to start a business, which is not the ideal time to start a business. But she's an entrepreneur at heart. And she's like, I think I can start a business, run a business, be a stay-at-home mom, have one or two clients, and just manage those clients while I raise the children. So I said, obviously, go ahead, let's do it. I was still working in an investment firm at that point. So I was doing the operations, finance behind the scenes at night, and she was managing one or two clients. She did such a good job that within a year, she said, you know what, I'm going to have to hire a nanny to help out with the children, or else do you want to leave your business and maybe come partner with me and help me grow this business? And I said, absolutely. I'm going to leave my job. I'm going to come be a stay-at-home dad with you, help raise the kids together and build this business together. So fast forward, we built the business, and about 7 or 8 years later, we had grown the business substantially, and people started knocking on our door saying, hey, look, we like what you're doing, right? Particularly this one guy came to us and said, hey, look, I have this idea. I want to take 15 agencies. And let me actually just back up. Sorry, my previous business was actually called All Inclusive Marketing. So it was a digital marketing agency that specialized in the performance marketing field, so affiliate marketing. So we're the agency that helped broker brands between customers. So we'd work with content providers that would drive traffic towards brands. And if there was a purchase or performance, on the brand side, they'll pay that content provider performance fee. So we broker and manage those relationships there. So that's what the business was. And we're doing such a good job doing that. We were approached by this gentleman that was looking to take 15 similar agencies in that industry public on the London Stock Exchange. So I said, wow, this is amazing. This is something that we didn't think we were going to do initially when we started this business. It really was, first of all, a stay-at-home job for my wife. And it ended up being, okay, now you can stay at home and work with me. So, okay, great. Now we built this business and people are knocking on the door looking to buy this business. I thought we were just going to hand this business to our children, to be honest with you. I thought, oh, it would be like, just grow a business, kids, you inherit the business, you take over. When you're done high school, come and work with us, we'll teach you the business, take over, and you'll take care of our retirement for us. But that was not the case. So we got a lot of interested people coming in, knocking on our door. And this one guy was really interested and said, look, I think this space is going to grow dramatically, right? And I want to take these 15 companies, I want to take them to London Stock Exchange. So in order to do that, we have to do an IPO. I said, that's fantastic. Um, I had done everything I needed to do for compliance point of getting my taxes done and building a business to stay compliant, but I hadn't built a business that was actually at a point to maximize our enterprise or intrinsic value, essentially, right? So it was still heavily dependent on my wife being the main salesperson, so the main revenue driver for the business, right? The compliance, the governance was in place because luckily it was just my wife and I, right? But we weren't really managing our EBITDA to maximize a value that we could have managed it with, right? So they said to us, okay, we need this done, and we're looking at doing the IPO in 6 months. But we need to do all the due diligence before it. And as you can imagine, the due diligence with a potential IPO is very in depth, right? I remember at one point them asking me for a Starbucks receipt for a business meeting I had 3 years ago. And that's how in depth it gets, right? And I must have spent probably, I don't know, 80 hours a week just working on getting the due diligence stuff done, getting my books in order, having clean financials, answering questions. And the thing was, is I needed to get this done within a 2-month period, right? All these questions coming. So essentially, I was working like 3 jobs at that point, right? And I understood, okay, if I was going to move forward with a different business from day one, I'm going to change the way I approach this. And I'm going to make sure I'm structured in a way that means that I can actually answer any questions anybody has from the due diligence side. Let me step back a little bit. So we went through the due diligence process. They said, look, the business is great from the outside. We're looking at everything. We open up the hood a bit, right? Your EBITDA numbers aren't where we're expecting them to be, right? And that's because we're investing heavily into the business because we didn't know that there was a potential exit for us down the road. So we weren't really focused on our EBITDA numbers at that point. They also said, your business is very heavily dependent on your founders. So your multiple that we're going to give you is not what an industry standard essentially would be getting, right? Because there is a risk associated with that. So we were losing a bit of that leverage in the multiple from that. So we said, okay, that's fine. We're not going to get the industry standard. That's okay. Numbers were still good enough for us. There's a lot of pressure on us. So we decided, okay, we'll still move forward. So they did the roadshow. We looked at moving forward with the exit of the business. 2 days before we're supposed to go public on the London Stock Exchange, the whole Cambridge Analytica Facebook data breach happened. And the whole roadshow was shut down. Investors started putting their money because they associated internet marketing, the whole of internet marketing, with the Cambridge Analytica Facebook data breach. And
Wow.
as I mentioned, we started this business when we were 6 months pregnant with our first child. I had to try and explain to the kids the amount of work and the stress that your mom and I were going through to get us to the point of saying, hey, it's like you're going to Charlie, like in Charlie and Chocolate Factory. You go into the chocolate factory, you have the golden ticket, you're right at the gates, and a big whirlwind just comes through and blows that ticket out of your hand, and you can't go in the chocolate factory anymore. You're like, oh, okay, now I get it. I understand. what happened here.
Was your plan to sail off into the sunset, or were you gonna roll that over and take shares in the new entity and stay on and carry on?
Yeah, the plan was was to stay with the new entity, right? The way that the agreement was scheduled was there was some cash up front, but there was an earnout associated with it based off of different benchmarks, right? So, I mean, the reason why I guess I tell that whole story is that there was a silver lining to this. I mean, I learned a lot going through the due diligence process and how buttoned up I need to be as a business owner, right? I didn't know there was optionality for me to actually sell my business. That's one of the things that I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't think about when they start a business, right? They don't think about what the exit value is. And maybe like it isn't an exit that you're looking for, but you want to step away from your business and want to make sure that your business doesn't wobble without you being there. You don't want to be your business to be dependent upon you, right? So it gave me a lot of it was a big eye opening. The silver lining was okay. Now there is options for us to potentially exit our business. The decisions that we make today for our business have to always be thinking about the intrinsic or the enterprise value for our business going forward, right? So when we start investing in a tool, there has to be a real true ROI for that tool, right? And how it's going to affect the EBITDA, right? We started saying, okay, we need to start reinvesting into our sales team, right? And bring in salespeople to remove that dependency from Sarah as a founder of the business, right? Because that risk then will be decreased and the multiple variable will be increased, right? So the enterprise value, which is EBITDA times the multiple, that leverage is going to go up. So it means your enterprise value is essentially going to go up by doing that. So there was that silver lining that happened.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier, you talked about the investment in the business that didn't contribute to EBITDA, that perhaps was an overhang.
Yeah.
Is that sort of those sort of investments? Is that what you meant, or was there other things that you just weren't optimizing, like you were investing in, building up the staff or technology? Just maybe
Yeah.
double click on that for me for a moment.
Sure. So, I mean, we were an agency. So, one of the things about our agency is that we were very boutique compared to a lot of other agencies, right? We would have a lot more hands on one client. So, generally, other agencies may have two people in the business working on a client. We would have four or five people working on clients. So, it was very heavy lifting in regards to expenses, right? So the margins weren't as good as it were. So we had to find efficiencies going forward, right? Maybe it wasn't five, but we didn't want to lose that boutique feel, right? So maybe we need to move people off. So I had to find tools that could take the work off of us. AI wasn't around at that point. So there was a lot of heavy lifting in regards to content, outreach, and everything like that. So we had to be more efficient in that way. We're also very innovative. We actually had a motto in our company called DIG, Delight, Innovate, Grow, and Give Back. That was our acronym, right? So delighting our clients, delighting our team, innovating with tools and thought leadership in our space, right? Growing our business or growing our client's business and giving back. So volunteering our time or volunteering to other people. That's kind of like our core compass in our business, right? So innovate was one of the big ones. So we were big thought leaders in how we can actually work with different tools or create tools to make life easier for our clients, for our partners, and for everybody, a win-win-win, right? So there was a lot of heavy investment in tools that didn't really pan out the way we thought it would pan out, but it's stuff that hit our books at the end of the day, which decreased our EBITDA. So going forward, like, okay, are we actually going to invest in a tool? Is it actually going to render an ROI that's going to create that enterprise value for us in a potential exit in the future, right? So that's what I meant about the investment decisions we were making. Every decision we make going forward as business owners, Sarah and I would ask the question, is this going to increase our enterprise value by either increasing the multiple or increasing our EBITDA?
Okay. Yeah. So let's spin forward a few years because of course 2019 goes by. You miss your window. You miss your first window,
Yeah,
but the window reopens again. Maybe finish it off. How did
sure.
you
Yeah. So
eventually come
luckily,
to your exit?
yeah, thank you. So luckily, like there was a lot of interest. The space was growing. So digital marketing was expanding dramatically at that point, 2019. We had a couple people actually interested in our business in 2019. So that was actually beneficial for us because there was a bit of a bidding war that was happening there as well, right? Once again, like our business was growing mainly based off of referrals because we did such a good job. We actually had clients that ended up working for us because they loved our culture and what we had built as a business that actually ended up leaving the client base and coming to work for us. Anyway, so we had a great reputation in the space. So we had a lot of people that were interested in us. Um, we went down the process of then going through an LOI with a couple of them. At that point, our books were up to date. Everything was very clean. Our data rooms were together. We had all the documentation they needed. Essentially, just had to hand over a file and they had everything. It essentially meant I was doing my job and just raising and running my family and my business and not worrying about the exit side of the business anymore. So, yeah, it happened again where we got to a point where like, okay, we're going to commit to something with a potential acquirer in March 2020. And we all know what happened in March 2020.
Yes.
COVID happened. And once again, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, that golden ticket got blown away. We thought. That being said, though, everybody was at home. And what were people doing at home? They're spending money online, buying
Yeah.
stuff online. So our business actually accelerated and grew during that period, which is great for us, right? Because it means our revenue grew substantially, our EBITDA grew through that, and our actual valuation grew. So the people that are looking to buy us actually wanted to speed up the process and get it
Yeah.
done. And
Get them.
because we actually, I should have mentioned this, we were a completely remote team from the start. We never had, well, we had an office for a little bit because our team asked for office, but then they never used the office. So I removed that expense. But yeah, we're a completely remote team. So when everybody was at home, the choir was like, how did you guys build a remote team completely from day one? We need that to implement it across the other 20 agencies that we have underneath our umbrella. So that whole acquisition happened at the end of, in October 2020, where things were sped up and we exited. But one of the nice things about that is that we were able to then, unlike the first deal, because we had everything organized and in place, we were able to negotiate our EBITDA. We were able to, our multiple, I should say. So in the first place, we were just taking what they were giving us. At this point, we were saying, okay, we removed the dependency of sales. So our EBITDA went up by 1x at that point. We've done XYZ. So our EBITDA went up by another half an X points. And that's a substantial amount when you use that leverage number against your actual EBITDA for your enterprise value.
Yeah. So very much a silver lining to the initial false start. You got paid to wait, essentially.
Exactly. And I learned a lot. And I mean, and that's kind of where I'm at today, right? And that might be a good segue. Like now that I've started Athena Collective, before we even started ready going down the path, I said to our business partner, I said, we need to set this business up correctly from day one. We need to start thinking about our enterprise value. We don't know if there's going to be a liquidity event, but we know that we do want to step back in maybe 3 or 5 years from the day-to-day management of Athena Collective. So we need to start building that, getting that structure in place, right? That we
Hmm.
can do that from day one, because I don't want to go through that process of doing that again with all-inclusive marketing.
Yeah, well, so many entrepreneur programs, focus on the startup and the growth phase, but very few of them actually have the end in mind.
Yeah.
And like you say, it's not you can't make that last minute decision and say, oh, okay, listen, I want to sell my business this year, because it's, as you just alluded to, it's years of due diligence that are under the microscope. There's I'm not going to say profit management aspect, but you're more thoughtful about the investments that you're making in those finishing years to
Yeah. And
maximize your value.
it's funny you
So.
say that because my wife was at an M&A conference yesterday, and she was talking to a couple PE firms over there and a couple of M&A friends that she works with. And yeah, they have people that have walked away from M&As, like deals or like very good deals they wanted to do because they had a short time window of getting it done in 2 months. And on the audit side, on the Deloitte side, they have 45 people ready to go working on the deal. And you have one person on your side that's trying to manage their business, maybe raise their family, right? As well as do this audit. And they just don't have the bandwidth to do it. But if they have everything ready in their data rooms, everything set up and teed up, ready to go, it's going to be easy for them to exit if that's what they want to do.
Very good.
Yeah.
So when do clients come to the collective? Is it startup, midstream, and people thinking of the end in mind all throughout this life
It's
cycle?
all throughout. Athena Collective, we have solopreneurs, we have everybody throughout. Like we have 7, 8 digit businesses, clients in there. We have a big, as I had mentioned, we have this engine inside Athena Collective. It's almost like the Netflix for your business, right? Recommendation engine. You come in, you educate the platform about your business, right? And it's going to curate you based on where you are in the stage of your business. So you can be in startup phase, you can be in scale up phase, you can be in growth, you can be in pre-exit, you can be in exit phase, right? And the recommendation engine will actually give you the tools. It will tell you which people inside the network are best fit for you based off of your industry, what your business needs are as well, right? And it allows you to actually advertise your business as well. If you want to do a workshop and do a give back to the community, you can do that through the recommendation engine.
Okay, very good. Let's focus on like how business value is created, because I think your story illustrates how you were creating value for the last couple of years. But what are the characteristics of a business that give it value?
Sure. So, I mean, I love entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are amazing people. They create value themselves, right? They go out there and they create an income for themselves, right? Instead of just getting a job, right? They go out there and produce a product or a service that is creating an income for themselves, which is fantastic. But if they step away for 30 days and go on vacation, go travel the world for a little bit, that income's going to decrease, right? So there's not really a lot of value. There's not really an asset there available for them. That's where the true value is, right? So what you want to do is thinking about, okay, how do I actually increase the asset, right? The value of this business, right? And a lot of times it is really, how do I remove myself as the sole entrepreneur of this business and start investing in people that's going to help actually build the asset of the business up, right? So
Mhm.
that's one of the biggest things. So when you're looking at the like going back to the enterprise value form, and the enterprise value is EBITDA multiplied by the multiple, right? You need to look at the different levers that are going to affect that multiple, right? So it's going to be the risk factor in regards to tendency. How much of that is? Or have you built in a layer that has a management team, a GM or president that's in there that can run the business for you if you step away? Gives you optionality. It doesn't mean you have to sell the business, but you can go on vacation for 2 months if you want to go on vacation. You're gonna come back and the business is at the same state or even better, right? There is value in that, right? And intrinsically, there's going to be value if you're able to do that and hire good people to run the business without you being there. That's what essentially buyers are looking for. They're not looking to buy you to come in and work in the business. They're looking at buying the asset, and why they have the agreements in place. They're giving you cash up front to say, hey, you've done an amazing job for getting the business to this point. We want to buy the business, but we want to make sure that we actually are protecting our investment. So we have an earnout piece, and we're going to set benchmarks. If you hit X, Y, Z in those benchmarks, you get a percentage of the business paid out to you based off of the agreement that we come together. Usually, it's mostly a cash deal and an earnout piece that's involved in it, right? Sorry, it's a long-winded answer to your question about providing the value. It really comes down to, are you able to step away from a business and make sure that business is sustainable without you being there? That's the
Yeah.
value people are looking
And
for.
so if I'm an owner, like there's so many owners like myself who have run small businesses, but I'm bootstrapping my way along, and I don't need all the cash, and I'm just reinvesting. When it comes to that exit day, you get that EBITDA, which is essentially just your operating cash flow, and you don't have that management salary in there. When they go to do the valuation, they're going to knock off a notional amount for somebody to
Yeah,
run that business. Correct?
they're going to normalize it for sure. They will definitely normalize it. They'll throw it in there. And that happened to us, right? I mean, we weren't doing a draw on our business, right? We weren't paying ourselves a salary because we weren't worried about having to worry about our pensions and XYZ, right? And we're making the numbers look good. But when they factor, when they look at that EBIT number, they're going to normalize that in there and say, oh, what's it going to cost for me to do a president, to invest in a president? And that's a question I get a lot. It's like, so what's the value that you actually provided, Ian, if I work with you as a value architect? I say, okay, I'm going to come in and my focus is on maximizing your EBITDA, but also really maximizing that multiple because that's your leverage point, right? So if I say to you, you are sales gating, you're the person that is the bottleneck in this business right now because you're the chief revenue person for this business. We need to find somebody that can come in and replace you. It might cost you $100,000, just a nominal number I'm using there. It might cost you $100,000 on $1 million EBITDA, right? But that 100,000 could mean you could go from 1x to 1.5x. So you're looking at $1.5 million in value just by having somebody come in and do the sales for you instead of you being in there, right? Yeah, there is that, like, the normalization of it, right? And the way that I look at from the value that I provide is that multiple, but you can also normalize my expense, right? Because I'm not an ongoing concern for your business, essentially. I'm essentially, like, I am the architect. I'm making sure that there's the load-bearing walls in there. Then it's not sexy. It's not a sexy business, I'll be honest with you. But if I use a house as an analogy, if you walk into a house and you see this open space, beautiful living room to a kitchen, you need load bearing walls to have that to hold the roof up. You don't see those load bearing walls. You see the nice interior design that's happening inside this beautiful space, right? But without that structural place in space, without that structural piece in place, it's not going to be as beautiful as you
Yeah.
think it is. Yeah.
And it could go the other way. You have such a beautiful space or whatever. You're paying yourself a robust salary because you're having a successful business. That too gets normalized
Yeah.
downward because it works in your favor. So,
Yeah.
talk about the methodology with the collective. Like is because everybody's in different stages of the life cycle, from incubation to growth and scale up to maturity to perhaps business transfer. How do you guys think about the methodology guiding people through that entrepreneurial journey?
In regards to, we lean on our members a lot, actually. Like, I mean, obviously, we have the experience, right? We have a lot of other partners that we work with, like a lot of M&A firms, a lot of legal counsel that we work with, right? That do give us some guidance on that. But really, it is a lot of the members inside actually have their specific expertise. And that's why we have the community based part, right? Where that you could have a member in there that specializes in, I'm just going to say web design, right? And then somebody that needs a web page build, something like that. They work together, right? There's a bit of a partnership there, right? So we do lean on each other as members, right? We do have expertise. Once again, we do have a lot of resources and content that we have put in place that helps people guide based on where they are in the stage of the business. So there's so much information out on the web that you can just go Google something, but it's not specifically tailored to your business. When you go into our platform, you actually already putting in your business needs. It's really a business needs analysis and it's really tailored towards where you are in your business, right? So you're getting not a lot of noise and fluff. You're getting really true curated content.
So do you have members who join the collective, but you also have like preferred partners or something to kind of round out that, everything you're going to need throughout your entrepreneurial journey?
Exactly. So we do have vendor base. We have different tools and providers that we do work with, and there's a lot of email providers right out there. But like, there's some that are very specific for a certain industry and a certain business, right? And our tool identifies that and recommends only the vendors that are actually applicable for your business. So you don't have to go through and look at those 10 different CRMs. Maybe only these two CRMs are good for you, right? And then we'll do the introduction, have that CRM talk to you and how you can better use their tool for the business. Yeah,
Okay.
makes
Maybe
sense.
let's just go back to this idea of I'm kind of curious about the whole end of cycle. I'm moving on, business transfer, pass it on to my kids or my employees, a management buyout or those situations. How should an entrepreneur think about going about marketing their business? How do they build that profile? Do they have to bring in somebody like yourself to coach them through it, or do you
Yeah,
have to get a business broker involved? Like, how do you start that process?
that's a very good question. So, I am not a business coach. I'm not a business advisor. I know that you do some coaching, right? And that's what you specialize in. I'm more of the architect to make sure that the structural stuff is in place, right? So,
Hmm.
a business coach will come in is almost like make the interior design and making the space look really nice, right? And making the founders in the right headspace for them to do that, right? The marketing side of the business is there's a lot of partners out there. There's a lot of networks, a lot of communities that are looking to purchase businesses, right? There's a lot of industries that have specific areas that people can advertise their businesses that they are for sale, right? But mainly it really is through a lot of M&A firms that have the people that are looking to purchase businesses that I have found a lot of success with our clients.
And I can imagine if I was selling my business going alone, there's always that challenge of trying to get enough competitive tension in there to ensure that you're getting a good value or a fair value for your business.
Yeah, that's a good question. How do you know what a fair value is? There's always the industry standard for whatever your business is in, right? But if you're able to take a look at those different levers, right, that affect that multiple, right, you can say it's not founder dependent. Great, check that off, right? That's a huge risk. Sorry, I don't know, cut the thumbs up there. That's a huge risk for potential buyers, right? But there's a lot of those variables that you can go in there and you're able to negotiate a lot better. Remember the first story? We were just happy to take whatever they were willing to offer us at that point, right? And we were actually devaluing our business at that point. 3 years later, our EBITDA was stronger, right? Because we're making better business decisions. And our multiple was stronger because of those better business decisions, right? And we were able to negotiate a lot better. Yes, we did have some of that happy friction in regards that there were a couple of buyers. So we were able to have a little bit of a bidding war there. But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I think if you got a really good, compelling business that people are interested in, there is a business need for it, the business service is good product, right? People are going to find you, right? The M&A guys, if you're going to be on people's radar, they'll find you. I mean, one of the things that actually helped us a lot, I should say, is that we did win a lot of awards. If you Google all inclusive marketing, you'll see that we won a bunch of different awards. So that did actually help bring the buyers confidence that we did do what
Yep.
we said we were going to do, right?
How do you guys think about the business, the multiple itself? That's always the black box of this. Like, how do you think of business valuation? If somebody says, "What's my business worth?" Walk us through the mental framework you use to kind of ballpark it.
Right. So, I mean, I honestly start with the benchmark for the industry, and it's always a range depending on what the industry is, right? So, if you
Where
look,
do you get the benchmark?
well,
Where?
I mean, you can find them. There's M&A firms have there's
Yeah.
benchmarks generally. You can just go to them; they'll have it. I mean, service-based businesses are going to be a lower multiple compared to like a tech business, which is going to be a higher multiple, more product-based, right? Tech business is going to have a higher EBITDA as well, right? Generally, because there's lower operating expenses associated with it compared to a service business. But you can definitely go in and find what that multiple is, what that benchmark is, and then you optimize your business to make sure that you're competitive and at the higher end of that multiple, right? And it's not going to happen over a month period. It's going to take a couple of years of optimizing because you're going to have to show it on your finances, right? So myself, a value architect, if you were to work with me, I would be upstream of an M&A event. I'm usually 24 to 36 months upstream of an M&A event, getting the structure in place essentially. So when there's a due diligence audit that comes in, you're getting essentially going back to the house analogy. Somebody's signing off on the permit of you actually occupying this house for the buyer coming in, right? So making sure everything is in place correctly. It's not an overnight thing, right? But I think that what needs to happen is there needs to be a mind shift that people need to understand that there is options out there. A lot of entrepreneurs once again, going into business to create an income for themselves, a job instead of having to clock in their own business owner, right? But at the end of the day, they just create an income that keeps on growing, keeps on growing, keeps on growing. But they're not really building that asset, and that's where the true value is, right? Is building that.
Hmm.
That's what the people want to buy.
It jumps to mind to me, and like you talk about this architect mindset. And I'm thinking right now I have Andy Newman and WeWork in mind. You know how we
Yeah.
tried to take, WeWork, which was shared office space for people in the gig economy, but he tried to spin it as a tech company and got valued as a tech company. I'm not sure to what degree. If you've got 36 months to think about how you characterize your business, you talked about a service business versus a business with some intangible property versus one with tangible property. Is that factor into the architect mindset as to how we want to this business to be characterized in the eyes of an eventual acquirer?
Yeah, I think if any acquirer is doing their proper due diligence, they can see through the smoke and screens of what the business is actually doing, what their true value is. I don't think that was done correctly. I think that was just caught up in hype, to be honest with you, on the WeWork side.
Mm.
Uh, yeah, no, I think, yeah.
Well,
Sorry, sorry.
I can think of like just using my own example. I sell professional development, but I sell lifetime subscriptions, which is a horrible, horrible way because it's a one-time revenue. I'm sure you come in here and say, "Listen, you should have that on a monthly or an annual subscription. Create a recurring revenue because a recurring revenue is worth way more than a one-time revenue kind of thing." So I imagine there's all these sorts of architectural type decisions that you make around the business model to strengthen it with your clients.
Yes, yes. Sorry, yes, no, 100%. So it's like the way that I work is like, I'll give you my methodology, I guess, right? Is that I only work with 2 to 4 people, 2 to 4 businesses at a time, really, right? I really get ingrained into their business, right? But that being said, though, I love giving back, right? And love understanding what entrepreneurs are doing, right? So there are a lot of people that come to me and I say, look, let me do an audit of your business, right? I get a really good understanding of what your business is, usually a 3 month process, right? I go in depth, ask a lot of questions, go through the finances, make sure the finances are clean, make sure I have a good understanding of. So if somebody was to come look at it, they could easily read the finances. And then I create a roadmap, a 24 months roadmap for them and say, these are the markers you need to hit, right? And if you hit these markers and you do these things, I believe your X is going to be increased by XYZ. And then you start reverse engineering. Okay, if I want an exit that's $10 million, for example, what do I need to change now over the next 24 months period that's going to get me to that 10X, right? And then who do I need to engage with at what stage going through this process in order to exit at 2 months, 2 years from now, right?
Yeah.
So
Is there a common set of findings that you have with clients that this I've always got to talk about the revenue generation model, or their how they're structured, their operating leverage, their mix of fixed and variable costs, or what are some of the common things that you would feed back to your clients and make as suggestions that over the medium term they need to consider to maximize value?
Yeah, I think honestly, it's rarely is the founder dependency, which is one of the biggest
That's
things.
the big one.
That's
Yeah.
a big one, right? Is
Replace yourself.
replace yourself. You need to, but and it's a tough one to answer, right? And it's, I mean, like as an entrepreneur, we like the control, right? And you've got to like let go of the reins a bit. We have to trust people, right? But you need to really like people need to, in order to trust people, you need to firstly value aligned with that person, right? And that's why we've been successful. Obviously, husband and wife team over here, inherently value aligned. Also, we wouldn't be partners, life partners together. But with business partners, you still need to be value aligned. So with all inclusive marketing, we built a great leadership team below Sarah and we really listened to their thoughts and feedback. They helped us guide all inclusive marketing to what it was, right? We really leaned on them and we could step away. We could go on vacation for a couple of months if we wanted to. And we'd come back and know that the business was running fine. But you need to also like have the ability as an entrepreneur to be able to let go and let trust people to do the work for you. But that's not going to happen overnight. It's a process, right? It's a dating process, right? It's like getting to know somebody, then you start lifting the hood up and understand what the mechanics are behind, how they work, what their personality like, does it work with you? And that's the way I look at working with people that I want to partner with this value architect, right? Is it's a long game for me, right? So it's a 24-month engagement that I usually do with them, right? And I don't want that to be friction, right? I want it to be a nice seamless process. I want them to buy into the process and understand what we're doing, right? And why we're doing it at the end of the day.
I can definitely understand just being a solopreneur myself, I purposely branded my business myself. And mainly the reason I did this, 15 years ago was I was worried about people stealing intellectual capital at the time. And so putting my face on it, at least I'd get the promotion out of it. Especially now in an AI world, the only way I can ensure that it's me is put my name on it. But from a exit perspective, it makes it very difficult if I'm inextricably connected to the content that's out there. So I know there's a lot of people, whether you're a plumber or an electrician or you're a teacher, you are the brand in many senses. And so extracting the entrepreneur from the business and replacing them, I could see how that could take time.
Yes, it does take time, but it's doable. There's rebranding, there's ways to do it. I mean, essentially, when an exit happens, that's it. Inherently, what happens, right? You are removing the founders from the business. There is an earnout piece, and they usually will stay in afterwards. But at the end of the day, they probably want to move on, and entrepreneurs want to create another business like we have, right? So yeah, like you just there's ways to do it to remove yourself from the business. I understand why you did that. Let me ask you a question, Blair. Did
Go
you ever
ahead.
think, like 15 years ago, did you ever think that you would have the potential to maybe sell your business, right? Did you ever think about your long-term gain from this business besides creating income for yourself?
Absolutely. I know the theory behind it, but I made a very conscious trade-off because I was very concerned. And to be honest, I know my courses are pirated all over the world, so that just happens in the content distribution business. So I was going down this path of white labeling everything, just have a voiceover, and certainly in the AI world, this is one of the challenges I'm confronted with right now is how does a thought leader compete in a world where content is, you just ask an AI a question and it can become your virtual coach per se.
Right.
So it is for me, it's conscious, but I'm just not sure how to differentiate myself from what an AI does these days, other than to make it my own and make it personal to my own brand and my own personality and my own proprietary thinking on various matters. So I'm not sure. I don't know, but this is not the right answer for what you're talking about because either my kids come behind me and take over my business, and unfortunately I'm 0 for 3 on that front so far, or the business ends up dying with me, which is what's going to happen with many of those people who don't have that thoughtful planning that you're advocating.
Right. I mean, if I was in your shoes and if I was working with you, I would be looking at creating that layer below you, the president, the GM coming in, right? And you're just going on vacation, drinking your Mai Tais if you like to drink Mai Tais, and just have them run the business for you and correct the dividend that is fairly owed to you for all the hard work that you put in there. And I would say I'll take it as a compliment to there's a lot of people that are pirating all of your content out there, right?
That's how I justify it. At least I'm
Right.
happy to get, and I make connections with people all over the world. The
I,
other
I,
thing I The other thing I was going to say I've done is I've automated my business so I can do it from a beach anywhere. So it's on my phone, so I can do everything from anywhere. So that's the one thing I have done to build resiliency. But it still doesn't mean like you can't take a vacation for a month and go away because the
Yeah.
business literally stops. So it's that's where I have a shortfall. So
I know, I get it. And you know what? I loved it when we started all inclusive marketing because we were completely remote. Like I remember us going to Hawaii with the kids.
absolutely, yeah.
And we closed a client in Hawaii, and I was thinking, this is an amazing lifestyle. I'm so happy I'm not tied behind a desk
But there's
doing
another level after that.
there is.
That's what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Let's bring it in for a landing here.
Okay.
Any final thoughts on in terms of entrepreneurs and talking about business transitions? Any best advice? Any best practices? I'll
Yeah,
give you
I
the
mean,
last word.
I'm I, I'm always about the long game, right? Let's think about what the why are you doing this business? Is it ready to create an asset for yourself, or is it ready to create an income for yourself today, right? And for me, I think if you're able to create an asset, and I've been in the seats, I've walked that path, right? I've been through the exit, and I've seen the benefits of actually creating an asset. Personally, my life has changed because of that, right? And yeah, so maybe take a step back, look at your business and see, am I working in the business or am I working on the business? I know that's a very cliche thing for people to say, but it's sometimes not sexy to work on the business, but there is a fundamental reason why you need to work on the business at the end of the day, right?
I couldn't agree with you more because
Yeah,
that's something I need to practice myself. And you just reminded me of the importance of working on the business. How do
sure.
people connect with you?
Sure. Yeah. So you can find me on LinkedIn at Iain Bundy, and my name is IAIN. Or else you can find me at athenacollective.co, or you can find me on my website that I'm just redoing right now. So it's ianbundy.ca.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Ian, so much for joining us today.
Okay. Awesome. Thanks for having me, Blair.
All
Appreciate it.
right, and
All
we'll
right.
see everybody on another episode soon.
Cheers.